Don't, that's forbidden. The rancher looked anyway, and did the unthinkable. The wind moved strangely that evening, crawling low across the grass like it was afraid to be seen. Caleb Moore stood at the edge of his land, boots sinking into soil his family had worked for 4 generations. The sun was bleeding into the hills, painting the sky the color of warning. From the old ravine beyond the fence came a sound that didn't belong to cattle, coyotes, or weather. It was softer than a cry, sharper than a whisper. Don't go there. That was what his father used to say. That was what everyone in town said. The ravine was forbidden. Caleb had grown up with the rule the way other kids grew up with bedtime prayers. Never cross the black fence. Never look into the hollow. Never ask what happened the night the land was cursed. People lowered their voices when the ravine was mentioned, as if the ground itself could hear and remember. Caleb never believed in curses. He believed in rot, in lies passed down because nobody was brave enough to break them. The sound came again. This time it said his name. His hand froze on the fence post. His heart kicked against his ribs, hard enough to hurt. The voice wasn't loud. It wasn't threatening. It was familiar in a way that made his stomach turn. Caleb. It sounded like his sister. Sarah had vanished 12 years ago, swallowed by that same ravine on a night filled with shouting, sirens, and prayers that never worked. The town said she ran away. His father said she was dead. His mother never said anything again. Caleb told himself it was the wind. He told himself grief was a liar. Then he took a step forward. The fence wire hummed when he cut it. The sound echoed too loudly in the quiet, like the land was marking his crime. With every step downhill, the air grew colder, thicker, pressing against his skin. Trees leaned inward, their branches tangled like warning fingers. Halfway down, he saw it. The door. It was built into the rock itself, wood blackened with age, carved with symbols that hurt to look at too long. This was what they had hidden. This was what the town pretended didn't exist. Don't, the voice came again, closer now. That's forbidden. Caleb's hand shook as he reached for the handle. His father's face flashed in his mind, red with fear, screaming at him the night Sarah disappeared. You don't understand what lives down there. Caleb opened the door. The air inside was warm, breathing, alive. The tunnel beyond glowed faintly, lit by something that wasn't fire. As he stepped inside, the ground pulsed under his boots like a slow heartbeat. Then he saw her. Sarah stood at the center of the chamber, unchanged. Same age, same eyes, same small scar on her chin from when they were kids. She smiled, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. You came, she said softly. Caleb staggered forward, tears blinding him. They said you were dead. She laughed, a sound too hollow to be right. They lied. They fed me. The walls moved then, shifting like muscle. Shapes pressed against the stone, faces screaming without sound. Caleb understood in a sick, instant clarity. This place wasn't cursed. It was hungry. The town made a deal, Sarah said. Long before we were born. Prosperity in exchange for silence. In exchange for blood. Caleb backed away, shaking his head. No, my father chose me, she interrupted. Because I was young. Because I wouldn't fight as hard. The ground trembled. The presence beneath the chamber stirred, vast and patient. Why show me this? Caleb whispered. Sarah's eyes darkened. Because the deal is breaking. And it needs a new keeper. The truth crashed over him like cold water. The reason no one ever left town. The reason crops never failed. The reason disappearances were explained away so easily. You have to leave, he said. I'll tell them. I'll burn this place down. Sarah smiled again, and this time it was cruel. You already crossed the fence. The chamber sealed behind him. Caleb screamed as the presence rose, not in anger, but in welcome. Memories flooded his mind that weren't his. Generations of ranchers, sheriffs, teachers, all making the same choice. All telling themselves they had no other option. When the door opened again, dawn was breaking. Caleb walked back up the ravine alone. The fence was whole again. The wind was quiet. In town, people noticed the change immediately. Caleb took over his father's land with unsettling confidence. The crops grew greener. The livestock never sickened. When someone asked about the ravine, Caleb only smiled and said, some things are better left alone. At night, when the wind crawled low across the grass, Caleb stood at the fence and listened. Sometimes, from deep below, he heard a voice begging him not to look. And he never did.